All right, let's get right into it. Today we're diving into a really unique way of looking at the Quran. We're going to explore its metaphysical framework, not as a story, but as a kind of cosmic operating system.
So, the whole idea that frames this explainer comes from this one powerful statement. It says, "This is not poetry, not philosophy. This is the operating system of existence as revealed in the Quran." So, what we're talking about here isn't some new interpretation. It's about trying to see a revealed architecture of reality itself.
Okay, so where does our part in this system even begin? Well, it all starts with our descent into what this framework calls the trial ground.
Now, right away, this framework kind of flips a classic concept on its head. This is not your typical good versus evil story. Here, light, or nur, stands for heaven and the divine command. Darkness, on the other hand, represents earth, the trial. But, and this is crucial, darkness here is not evil. It's a functional part of the design. It's the necessary concealment that makes real, genuine choice even possible.
And that leads to this huge distinction about our own role. In this system, humanity isn't fallen because of some punishment. Nope. We are deployed. We're on a mission. Our souls are described as this descending light, almost like rain sent from heaven. And we arrive pre-equipped, like we have this factory-installed software, a primordial alignment to the divine, which is called fitra, and a foundational knowledge of reality.
So who are the key players in this trial ground? Well, the framework uses this really cool celestial analogy to explain it. Think of the sun as Gabriel, the direct, unfiltered source of revelation. The prophets, they're like the moon. They don't generate their own light, but they perfectly reflect that divine light down to us on Earth. And the planet, that represents a carrier of either mercy or pride. It's a force that can either align with the divine or get corrupted by its own ego.
Of course, any operating system has its bugs, its vulnerabilities, right? So now we get to the primary system error and, more importantly, its built-in recovery protocols. We're talking about the fracture and the fix.
And the agent that causes that fracture is Shaitan. But his role in this system is very, very specific. He's not some opposing king ruling his own kingdom. He's an operator within the trial domain. His entire function is to exploit our pride, to fracture our connection to the source, and to delay the consequences of our actions. Basically, his job is to crank up the difficulty of the test.
And the parameters of this test, well, they're pretty stark. The Quran states this really challenging statistical reality. Most will not believe. Now, this isn't meant to be pessimistic. It's a core parameter of the operating system, almost like the default difficulty setting is on hard. The test is designed to be tough, to make genuine belief a choice that you really have to fight for.
So what happens if that fracture occurs? How do you fix it? The system actually offers two distinct paths for repair. The first one is the light path of submission. This is where humility leads to obedience, which leads to a really rapid reconnection, just like we see with the Prophet Musa. But if pride has caused a much deeper fracture, there's another way, the fire path of sacrifice. This path requires a really difficult, sacrificial act to completely rewire the soul and open it up to mercy. And the ultimate example of that, of course, is the Prophet Ibrahim.
Okay, so with these rules in place, we can now look at our own history in a totally different way. This framework presents all of human history not as a bunch of random events, but as one long system diagnostic.
And this is where the role of prophets becomes crystal clear. In this system, they're not just wise teachers. They're functional. They are circuit restorers. They are sent to model the repair process for the rest of us and to deliver firmware updates, which are the scriptures, to correct all the corruption that creeps into the system over time.
And when you look at history through this lens, this repeating pattern just jumps out at you. It's a four-step diagnostic loop. It starts with pride, which always creates a fracture in our connection to the divine. That fracture gets so bad that it requires a divine rescue, usually through a prophet. But what happens next almost every single time? Relapse. Humanity forgets, pride creeps back in, and the whole cycle just starts all over again.
So the big question is, how do you break out of that loop? Well, the framework positions the Quran as the final tool designed for exactly this purpose. It's the final revelation from the final prophet, giving humanity its final chance to exit this repetitive, historical cycle for good.
And that brings us to the final stage of this whole journey. If we break the loop, if we pass the test, where are we all going? What's the end game?
It's about completing the circuit. The destination is called ma'ad, which means the return. And listen, this isn't a metaphor for a nice spiritual feeling. It is described as a literal, metaphysical homecoming. It is the completion of the soul's circuit, where the truth that was seeded into creation at the very beginning finally returns, purified back to its divine source. You know, you can boil this entire massive cosmic journey, this whole operating system, down to one single mission statement. You are a soul dropped into the veiled trial ground of Earth. Repair your circuit through submission or sacrifice, break the pride loop, and return as light to the one who sent you. In a nutshell, that's the whole program.
And it is so crucial to understand that this isn't just a philosophical exercise. This entire metaphysical architecture we've been talking about is anchored directly in the text of the Quran. The verses you see here are just some of the core pillars that form its very foundation.
And so this whole framework leaves us with one final, very personal question. It takes this giant cosmic drama and brings it right down to an immediate choice we all have to make right here and right now. The question is simple. Will you repair your circuit by submission or by sacrifice?